everyone, welcome to today's video. So today I wanted to show you guys my open world heroic builds. So these are builds that I think you can put together if you have these pieces. The pieces are not necessarily outlandish to get, and they are not like the best open world build that can melt everybody. No. I played this game, and I've always played this game to actually run some of the things that nobody really essentially is running. And that's where you can actually find a lot of fun in doing builds like this or in following this kind of pattern of building. Now, one of them is a tank build, and the other one is basically, tip of the spear build. So this tank build, yes, there are some specific items you might need to get if you were to run a build like this, honestly. But to be fair as well, you necessarily have some guaranteed items in order for you to be able to do this. So I'm running the tardigrade armor system. If you don't have this, there is actually a talent called I can't remember the name, but the tardigrade armor system just gives you extra armor when your armor breaks. Sorry, unbreakable. I take that back. I remember the name. What are you talking about? In the case of you as a solo player running, or if in the open world, unbreakable would definitely help you where tardigrade armor doesn't. So the chess piece will be based on the preference. It'll be based on what stats you're trying to achieve. And so if you can run unbreakable on a Hilligard chess piece, unbreakable or zero Fs is the named Badger Tough chess piece, and if you can run that on there, then that's also pretty good for you. It will do the work of the tardigrade armor system for just you as a solo player. It's very good. The zero Fs, I think, gives you 100% of your armor back. I don't have one here. All my stuff is decentralized. It keeps the game fun. It keeps the game interesting because I have it on my other account, but I don't have it on this account. So it keeps me searching and looking. That's why I play multiple accounts. It's really nice. And so that's how you can get a talent like that, because it saves your life many, many times. And you can build it with whatever you want. So if I didn't have the tardigrade armor system, I would have been prioritizing searching for unbreakable, the zero F chess piece. And even that even gives you another 10% shotgun damage. So you can run a shotgun by yourself as a solo player. It is definitely one very good piece of item to run regarding weapons and weapon types or weapon classes. Why? Because shotguns do significant amounts of damage. It's crazy how much damage a shotgun will put out just by itself. If you're able to get yourself a good one, then I would prioritize farming, shotguns until you get yourself a solid one. Get one that fires fast. The ones that I have are pump action. They're slow rate of fire, but when you're by yourself, you can do that. You can also run a rifle build. That's fine too. But this build is a tank build, and I have the Richter and Kaiser holster, the named one, Forge, gives me 10% shield health, and I have the Motherly Love gloves that gives me 10% skill health. So my tank is really, really strong. I mean, I'm in the open world, so I'll take all the help that I need from myself. I have 2 Hilligards to give me more health, and I would take a 3rd Hilligard backpack here to give me the armor regeneration. And so what you're seeing me run this, I was testing out this 511 bag to see if my healing will be really nice, but it is not necessary. I'm just going to go for this Hilligard backpack. And the reason I'm going for it is because I'm going to get the full 1% armor regeneration. There's a pair of knee pads that also run in this game as well. If you have it, good for you. If not, then yay, whatever. You can use the 3 Hilligards. It's the Emperor's Guard. It gives you 1% armor regeneration. And so that's actually a good place to go. So if you can't get the Richter and Kaiser holster, you can use a Jackrabbit holster. Jackrabbit holster is a Hilligard holster. And that can also give you the 3 pieces of Hilligard and then give you the armor regeneration. So you can get 2% armor regeneration and continue on your day as, everything will be fine. Or you can use the Golem gear, 2 pieces of the Golem gear. That gives you 1% armor regeneration, and you can then use 3 pieces of the Hilligard or 3 Golem gear, 1 of the Emperor's Guard. That's a way to go with a solo build that's based on the tank or on the shield, and then obviously change to the bulwark shield. That's where you get the best bang for your buck. Honestly, I would use this every time and then use a pistol sidearm that works. Now, the big argument that I have is the X45 versus the Liberty. And I know many people might go for the Liberty saying it does a lot more damage, but to be honest, the X45 has pretty much a significant rate of fire that if you use it and use your Liberty, you will struggle on exactly where you want to go. I have struggled, and I'm still struggling on making up my mind, because this thing does so much, it puts out so much damage in a short period of time, while this one also can do that, but that's another place that you can go. Now, one thing you also have to notice is, even though you roll all your stats to be blues or yellows, which will give you a shield, skill tier 6 capabilities, I would advise you that you should most likely run headshot damage wherever you can. So, you look at your core attributes and then you see your minor attributes here. You might want to do that. Now, I'm using the Hilligard. I have to follow that pattern, and I have armor regeneration, so I need to run the pulse. The scanner pulse, I have a scanner pulse haste. That gives me extra damage as well. So you want to run headshot damage wherever you can. So little minor stats like these, you can take them to the crafting table, the recalibration table, and run headshot damage. You can do maybe, repair skills. You could change that up, or you can change your status effects. You can change the headshot damage on your holster. The health that I'm trying to get here. It's probably not going to be helpful. I just take headshot damage here. And then even on my mask, I can take headshot damage here as well. And you'll be able to get, rack up 30, 40, even 50% headshot damage. And then, your sidearm would also be able to, do some really good work by the RPM or the amount of base damage it does, and the 3% you get on your mod. If you get a punch drunk mask, that also is another option that you can run. You will lose one utility mod, but you will be getting 20% headshot damage. It's a named DNH mask. I don't have one. Oh, there it is. It gives you 20% headshot damage. That will take your sidearm to be doing somewhere around 70, 80 percent headshot damage for a sidearm. That's pretty good. You will be completing content in decent amount of time, but you will be fine. Now, for those who, may not want to run a tank build, you can also run any build that you want that's, based on you. But I'm showing you my open world builds, and they're non-meta builds, and I run a Tip of Despair build for open world. I've chosen to run Tip of Despair because it is at the bottom of the meta when it comes to gear sets. I don't think there's any gear set. I think there's only maybe... I don't think there's a gear set that is as low on the tier as it, but I want to just tell you that it is actually viable. And I think this is where your player skill and knowledge actually comes into place. A build like this, I will not stand too close to an enemy NPC. I'll keep a very good distance and survey and work from the outside, because this build is actually based on my specialization. And it's based on the way that I play. Now, I have the wrong specialization equipped here, but I use the crossbow because that actually does some really good damage. Look at all the other specialization weapons. The crossbow does 4.7 million damage. Now, it does require you to aim a little bit and be a little uncomfortable, but I'm a survivalist guy, so that's exactly the build that works for me and the combination that works for me. Once I equip it, what I've noticed is for my skills, I run specific skills to actually help me stay alive, because it is a very challenging build to use. It is not easy, to get your hands around all of the intricacies that go with it, because there is some finagling that you're going to be doing. And I'm going to show you a description here. And by the way, if you want gameplay footage, and I know many people might be asking for gameplay footage, I would refer you to my video that is titled Solo Heroic Challenge 2.0, where somebody gave me a challenge to run some open world heroic control points, and I used this build to actually run 2 of them, and then I used my shield build to run 1 of them. So I have gameplay footage for you. Now, the reason I'm going with this is because I've been able to roll weapon damage on everything. It's a full red build. And I have a chest piece here that gives me explosive damage because it's China Light Industries, and I rolled weapon damage on it. Yeah, it has some headshot damage or whatever, but I'm using Gunslinger because this actually gives me weapon damage for 5 seconds. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's actually pretty good. I actually do like it. It increases total weapon damage by 20% for 5 seconds. This buff is lost for 5 seconds if you swap if you weapon swap while it's active. So That's pretty much that's pretty much what it is. You just basically lose a buff for 5 seconds, but there's so many things going on that you probably won't really notice. And because I have to swap from my signature weapon all the time, like, you know, I'm swapping from my signature weapon to my regular weapons, the buff is usually finding itself in a place that it's actually active. And for my weapons, I actually use my glory days. Now, this weapon does not do a lot of damage off the bat, but ladies and gentlemen, the glory days does have the one unique perk that makes it very good, and that's a perfect nearsighted. You get 100% stability, and you're able to hit weak points better, or, you know, weak spots or weak points better when you're fighting enemy NPCs. So perhaps you don't know, but named enemy NPCs have also received a huge change where your specialization ammo now does increase damage to them. And also, using the specialization ammo, I have AoE kind of damage where I can shoot it into the floor around a bunch of enemy NPCs. And, well, that did not affect anybody. And it can affect everybody around them. So that's one of the reasons I use it. And then it also applies bleed. That's why I use this, because not only does it apply burn, it also applies bleed as well to enemy NPCs when they take that damage as well. So that's why I use the Tip of Despair to run in the open world. That's why I prefer it. It's not anything anybody else is running. It's what I prefer to run. And, you know, like, I think many times we get carried away with, you know, the best build for somebody else. No, this is the best build for me. I'm using my Fox Spear knee pads because I'm getting the extra damage to targets out of cover. That's one thing that I'm using. And then I run my Pestilence. That gives me damage over time. I've seen a lot of people frown upon the Pestilence because it doesn't melt you like your Fast Hands, Negev. Guys, this is off meta. This is based on just challenging myself and going with it. And then the Tip of Despair bonuses gives you extra signature weapon damage. The 2-piece gives you 10%. The 3 pieces gives you 10% weapon damage. I wish this was significant, like 15%. It would really be worth running for everybody anyways. And then Aggressive Recon gives you specialization weapon kills to increase your weapon damage by 20% for 60 seconds. You'd be very surprised how many kills I get with my specialization weapon using this, because sometimes they bleed out. Like, I just shoot it in an area and the enemy NPC bleeds out and bam, that thing is procced. And what's even good about it is it doesn't have any cooldown, so I can continue to proc it over time and maintain a 20% damage buff. I knock out enemy NPCs with my weak weapons because they've just gained a significant buff from a specialization weapon kill. And then I automatically generate specialization ammo every 60 seconds. Now, the 2 specializations that I've seen this to be really good for, because of their high damage, is actually your crossbow and your grenade launcher. Now, for this guy over here, you probably will not want to be running Tip of Despair when you're using the Technician specialization. And then for the TAC 50, you probably should not be doing that, because there are other builds you can run that will leverage your other weapons and your specialization weapon than to go waste Tip of Despair on there. So these 2 here, this one here being a fast rate of fire and having explosive damage as well, but this guy here being my preferred because the bleed and because it's just, you know, survivalist. And then it comes to the skills that I use. I use the Seeker Mine, healing Seeker Mine. I've seen somebody asked me to comment on this item not healing friendlies. I have to say I have not noticed that. I was playing with it the other day and it was healing my teammates. And so maybe that might have been a glitch or a bug. This game can be buggy. I don't know. That's the reality we've dealt with. And if I'm playing against the cleaners, I use my striker drone now, or anybody. And the reason I use the striker drone, because it's open world, is I can actually use this to target an opponent or an enemy NPC that is a controller. One of the things that open world will really challenge you with is controllers are a pain. And if you target controllers, or if you target specific enemy NPCs that are problematic to you, you can knock them off their balance. Now, yes, they will most likely quickly shoot this, but it gives you room to run around. It gives you room to reposition yourself. That's one of the interesting things about the open world, is you have so much more to deal with. And the reason I've chosen to run a build like this is because I'm not at risk of permadeath. When you're running in heroic missions or heroic strongholds, you have the permadeath to deal with, and this is something that, you know, you have to make the decision, like, am I going to run an off-meta build that is super, you know, weak or super situational? That's what I'll call it, not weak. But super situational, am I going to do that? Or am I going to, run the open world with situational builds that allow more it's more forgiving. Even though there are more enemy NPCs, the open world, as difficult and chaotic as it may be, I can always respawn and come back to that area. Not every time, in some, like a hostage rescue situation, if they knock you out or if in a territory control, you can't come back. But in a control point, which has higher stakes, higher rewards than a heroic mission, you can always come back to. Whereas a heroic mission, which has lower rewards, but has, very high stakes like permadeath, and you can't come back to it. So let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. I know many people are probably running the M1A builds and all that stuff. Nothing wrong with that. I got me one of those. I'm not hating on the build. I'm not necessarily a big... here it is. It's right here. I'm not necessarily big on running the meta. In fact, if I run the meta, I would always tweak it. There's always something that makes me go, nope, I'm going to not run the best dealing thing. I'm going to run a support version of it. So I run opportunistic on mine for the entire team to be able to gain extra damage so they can feel strong. Just because, I just want to give them more damage. All right, I'll get out of your hair. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the community, hit the subscribe button. Join the Gaming Daddy community. We'll talk about the division. I talk about everything from issues to situations and blah, blah, blah. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.